So I went skiing with some friends, and one of my buddies fell down getting on the chairlift, and there was a nurse behind us, and she said, "I can help. Are you okay?" And then he was fine. He got back up, and then she said, "Is any one of you single?" And they pointed at me. Yes, I am single. And we ended up skiing with her and her friend, and then got snacks afterwards. And my friends later on the day, they asked me how I felt like my conversation with this gal went. We'll just say her name is Stephanie, okay? And I said I thought it was good. And they told me that they felt like I was insecure. And it makes sense that I'm not as self-aware. I do have insecurities when it comes to women. Today, we're going to talk about that and dealing with it. This is a new episode of the Decided Legacy podcast called The Courage to Be Yourself, 3 Truths You Want to Remember. So do me a favor and subscribe to this podcast. Give it a rating and review on Apple or Spotify. It helps it grow organically. I'm your host, Adam Gregg. I have been an executive coach and a family therapist for over 25 years. I founded Decided Legacy in 2012. We are a corporate development and executive coaching firm and education firm. And our purpose as a business is to empower every person and organization to live courageously. By the end of this episode, you're going to be inspired to be yourself more around other people. You're going to understand what that means, kind of a confusing concept, and you're going to be challenged to actually do it, to think about situations where you can let go. I like to share something uncomfortable every episode that I've done recently because nothing is more critical for good mental health than living with courage, and don't play it safe. All right. So what I did that was difficult recently is I got some rehearsal feedback from people. That's hard for me. I mean, you may not actually realize that, but for me to go and to rehearse in front of other people and to be open to getting their feedback, I mean, it's very awkward for me to rehearse. And I feel like I'm ultra sensitive to people's body language. So I pick up on that so much. That's why I'm pretty comfortable speaking live, because I feel like I'm pretty receptive, but doing something as a rehearsal is awkward. I enjoy actually speaking to a live audience a lot more than I actually do giving a rehearsal. It's very crazy. I mean, it's kind of dreadful for me, but I did it and I got some live feedback and I know it's very helpful to me. So I did it. I mean, that's my kind of thing. It may not be courageous to you. It may not be scary to you, but that's scary to me. So my question for you to start off, because I want to start off this podcast with an action that you're thinking of as you listen to this content. How do you hold back being yourself around other people? What do you do where you're not actually yourself? I mean, I like crazy hats like this one, okay? This one says, "I pooped today." And I really had a great time messing with my parents with this hat. I convinced my mom that that people that own a retirement community put this hat on other people. On all the people that live there, they have to put this hat on after they poop. So they keep track of all the people that have pooped in the facility. She was totally convinced of it. And I convinced my friend Doug of the same thing. And then I was just messing with them because this is so fun to me to actually, and I think the thing about this whole poop thing is people believe a lot of crap. I mean, it relates to letting go of crap. That's why I like liquid death. Death to not just your thirst, but death to your negative attitude, man. Death to being lazy, death to excuses, death to the crap you believe. I mean, we're talking about stuff today that I want you to let go of. That's holding you back, man. I mean, you got crap that you hold on to. It's not doing you any good. And I want that to happen in your life. And that's why I founded this business, because you have the ability to decide what's next. You have the ability to not be stuck in believing junk. You have the ability to influence your future. Your legacy is how you're going to impact other people. You get to decide that. And you get to decide how you're going to focus on the true good stuff in yourself or you're not. So people who don't know who they are, they can be 85 years old and not know who they are. They can be 50 and not know who they are. They can be 20 and have a really good sense of identity and security in their life. But if you don't know and have a sense of security, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. I mean, that is a driver of addiction. It makes us fragile. We can be deceived easily. We're not secure in ourselves. We end up looking without a secure identity out. we're not ourselves. We're not willing to be confident in ourselves. And then we end up looking externally for our value. We look at our job or money or power to fix our mistakes and to find purpose in our lives, when that's not the good stuff in our lives. I mean, as you are comfortable with yourself, as your self-worth increases, you let go, you relax, you can enjoy life, you can have fun. I mean, that's the cool stuff right there. When you live a life that you feel good about, at the end of the day, you're going to sleep better, and you're learning that you can just let go. You can just be who you are, and you don't have to be an act. You don't have to be an actor anymore. I mean, you can be your true self. So you don't need to defend yourself. You don't need to apologize for who you are. You can just be you. And I've spent a lot of time in my life not being myself, apologizing, trying to be somebody else, impersonating other people rather than being myself. I mean, I do it every day in some form because I want to take maybe another person's attitude or idea and borrow it, but really it's keeping me from being myself. So you got 3 truths today that will help you to be who you are, to like find the courage to be yourself. There you go. Find the courage to be yourself. And so the first truth to grasp is that you can change. Can you relate to that? Saying to yourself that I can't change. I've always been this way. I'm always going to be this way. Making excuses like, I'm not a morning person, or I can't go to bed before 10 o'clock. I can't eat healthier. Those things gross me out. I don't like fruit. I don't like vegetables. Have you not ever told yourself stuff like that? Or I can't exercise. I'm just not a runner. I'm just not somebody who can lift weights. I just can't do yoga classes. Sweating makes me feel sweaty, and so I don't want to sweat. You ever said stuff like that? I mean, can you listen to yourself and how these things are excuses? I can't get up before 7 o'clock. I just can't make it to work on time. You know how difficult it is because I have 8 kids at home. And yeah, that'd probably be difficult, but there's people that have 8 kids that make it to work on time. I mean, listen to yourself. Like all the excuses that we can make to say we don't really want to be uncomfortable. That situation I shared with you, I was insecure because I was telling myself that I was acting confident with this gal. Really cool. I had a good conversation. I enjoyed getting to know her and everything, but I was self-promoting and I was being self-protective. And when we don't have a secure identity, that's what we do. We self-promote and we self-protect, and we don't relax. We barely become self-focused. It's about us. We become selfish. And it wasn't that interaction. I was controlled in my interaction because I was trying to control the outcome. When I'm trying to control the outcome of a situation, the success or the result, then if I'm trying to control getting acceptance or getting validation, I'm not going to let go. We can only let go if we have a secure identity where we can actually, the results of the outcome doesn't determine our value. So I was trying to control, I wanted her to like me. So I wanted her to like me by being controlled. And then that came across as being insecure. I was being insecure. And I'm a work in progress in this area. I have insecurities in some parts of my life. So be it. There you go. So you can change. And having the attitude that I can change is going to be crucial. You have to recognize how you're telling yourself you can't change in order to start making changes in your life. And what would motivate you? I mean, come on. If you think through situations in your life where you actually have made changes, you've been able to channel some form of motivation that's told you in those situations that you can change. So if you started to make a big health change, well, maybe you had a health scare. I have sat with many people who have a lot of money, but they don't have their health. And they would pretty much give anything financially to have their health back. And in some cases, it's health that they can't repair. Because I've sat with people who have been in accidents that were because they've been drinking and driving and they've been paralyzed. And they would give anything to go back and have their health back. And they would give all their money to go back. I've sat with people who would do anything financially to have a repaired relationship with one of their kids or to have their marriage back because they blew it up, because they had an affair, they did something really stupid. I'm not calling you stupid. I'm saying we can do stupid things. I do stupid things. I've done stupid things in my life. I haven't done that, but I've done stupid things. I mean, I've been emotional in situations and I've made conversations haven't gone well because I have overreacted. I've done things where I haven't had, made the best decisions for the whole group of people. I've been selfish. But people change when they want to change. And when you believe you can't change, of course, that's just an excuse that you're never actually going to change. I see people make changes frequently. You see it if you look around you. Just notice people who have made changes in their diet, how they eat, and they've lost weight. I had a friend who I'm going to have lunch with him tomorrow. He's lost, I believe, 35 pounds. Go Todd, man. You've done some great stuff. He's actually was a guest on this podcast once. And I could notice a big change in him, and I was really proud of him. That's a big deal. But why? At some level, he had to tell himself, I can do this. It was no longer an excuse that I have to see I have too stressful of a job, or I have too difficult situations with my kids, and so I have to have this one mechanism. We start telling her that we got to eat a lot because I'm always hungry and I'm never not going to be hungry. And I can't go to bed with an empty stomach. So what is the excuse that you tell yourself frequently related to you not being able to change? Think about it, man. There's something there as well. I had a situation where, and I was meeting with a bunch of buddies last week, and we get together on Thursday mornings and get coffee and talk. And we were thinking about excuses that we make to not say no. And how what I have found is that to get to a really big yes, you're going to have to say no. There's a weeding out kind of situation. I used to hate to return clothes. I went and bought some new clothes over the weekend, and I already know I'm going to return a few pieces. And when I go in and return something, I feel some sense of shame sometimes, like I'm offending the person who's getting that clothes back from me, and I'm getting credited for it because they have to go put it back on the shelf or whatever. But over the years, I've shifted a little bit to know that I'm only going to find the clothes that I like when I try some things on, even buy some things, and then realize, well, that's really not my favorite. I like the other thing better. I'm not going to keep it when I don't like it. So I love liberal return policies, because it helps you and lets you go back. I don't like people abusing things. Like where I buy running shoes at Fleet Feet, they have like a year return policy. And I'm thinking some people really take advantage of that. Like they're running for 6 months on the shoes and they're like, these swings, I don't really like them anymore. And they're returning them and getting a new pair of shoes. I got a problem with that. And I hope they keep record of that, because I think they're abusing the policy. And they're the ones who make the people like me feel bad, because we don't do that. I mean, I don't return stuff if I've worn it and been wearing it out. No, but I may have worn it once and worn it even to work once, and I keep the tags and say, I don't really like this as much. I want to get something else. This that's what happens. So we learn to say no. So we practice saying no. And that's one of the things that we want to do to work on this point here. It's like, okay, we're going to find ways to practice saying no in a polite way, so we learn how to say yes. And that helps us discover who we actually are. It helps us discover this whole truth that we can change. I mean, because we're doing something that's uncomfortable. And so the next thing that I want you to keep in mind, well, I'll give you another example here, is that as you realize that you can change, and you are willing to have the courage to be yourself. So being courageous enough to be yourself means you are going to set boundaries and say that I'm not going to actually I like this, I don't like that. That's my point right there. I like this, I don't like that. You're actually saying that you like certain styles and fashions. You're becoming a real person, the substance of you, because you know what you like. So be willing to say no. I had a client that not too long ago, he realized that he wasn't excited about a friendship that he had, and she felt like that friendship, they were perceiving a romantic attraction towards him, but he wanted to have a boundary because he didn't want to be misleading. And it was actually keeping him potentially from, well, he was spending a lot of time in that relationship as a friendship, but he realized that he needed to let them go, and he needed to be really honest with them. And he had the conversation. He was dreading it. But he was being himself because he was grasping the fact that he realized that this didn't have the potential romantically for him, and that she had expressed a romantic attraction to him, so he needed to let it go and be honest about it. And I asked him after he had that conversation, which was last week, I said, hey, how did it go? And how'd you feel afterwards? He said it went much better. And she actually said she knew and she figured and that she was grateful. So, oh my gosh, can't believe it. He actually had a really positive result. And I asked him how he actually specifically felt after the conversation. And he said, well, it was hard, but then he felt energized and like he can have more of those types of conversations. Wow, that is so powerful. He realized that he could have the crucial kind of conversations in his life. And so I would like to challenge you and to give you a free resource that can be very helpful for you when it comes to actually having the courage to be yourself. Everybody has a unique personality. And I find that clients over the years, they love Strength Finders and the DISC personality assessment and the MBTI, Myers-Briggs type indicator. They love things that help them get more clarity about their current about how they function. And it really helps them when they can look at that assessment result and it resonates. And they're like, that does describe me. And I need to remember that because that really is me and that really is not me. I'm trying to be somebody else, or I'm trying to be like my dad, or I'm trying to be like my friends, or I'm trying to be, the funny guy when I'm really not. I'm more of a C, more cautious, more of an analytical person, but I'm trying to be this guy that's outgoing and it's not my personality. But then they realize they've been wearing themselves out trying to be somebody else. So what I want you to think about is getting more in touch with who you really are will require some work, trying new things, saying no, getting rejected, potentially, actually, doing things, saying what you do like, what you don't like, and then take an inventory like this one. I have this DYL. It's a DISC personality assessment. Take the inventory. It's free. It's going to give you some results. Hit the link in the show notes, read the article, and you're only going to get access to it if you go through this podcast right here. All right. So I want you to check that out. You're going to get the results, and then your friends can take it as well. And it's going to give you pretty actionable stuff, some changes you can make based on your personality. This is, of all the personality assessments, it's the one that I favor. I use it corporately more than any of them. I have training in a number of them. I have training and have used and facilitated all kinds of different assessments. This is my favorite. It's simple. I find it very usable. And I believe a lot of my clients would agree that when you apply it, it can make a difference swiftly in your relationships and how you interact with people. I've also used it with companies to help them and their sales departments, and in relating to customers, they know how better interact with customers based on doing a quick assessment of which of the 4 DISC personality styles they fall in. Really helpful. Very interesting. I love that stuff. And I think you will too. So hit the link, check it out. You're not going to want to miss it. So the second truth to grasp is that you are unique. And you may struggle with this, thinking about yourself and looking at other people externally saying, they're better than me, or I'm not much different than most people. I mean, and for me, I can say that I'm really not that smart because I struggled in school and I was a slightly above average athlete, but I worked my butt off in sports when other people I felt didn't have to work as hard. And I can tell myself I'm just above average. I'm just an average guy, but I'm not average in the sense that I'm unique. It means there's no one like me. This means there's no one that has my gifting in the unique pattern and way that is put together in me, that I can offer something that no one else can offer, and so can you. If you struggle to compare, you may be going through this. I got a refreshing secret for you, though. It's if you compare, any comparison is always going to leave you in a worse state than when you started, because there's no winning. There's always somebody that's going to be different than you. Because we're all unique, they're going to be different than you. And so your comparison is not fair. You can compare yourself with who you are and who you were yesterday and how you're growing, and that's healthy. And you can use somebody else's life and look at their progress and use it as inspiration to say, I can make progress too. But that's not comparison in this sense. That's not saying that they have something that I don't have. That game is a trap. And people that get caught up in being different are often not really being different. They're just doing the opposite of what they see, and they're actually following somebody else. To be yourself is always going to require you relaxing and breathing and saying that I'm okay the way that I am. It's like getting out of a hot tub when you're relaxed and you were hanging out in there by yourself, and then you're so relaxed that your real sense of humor comes out, that your real inspiration comes out, that we find ourselves in these creative modes when we have done things that get our central nervous system to calm down, not to be so intense. And we're going to be calm when we don't compare ourselves to other people. I can compare the fact that I live in an apartment with other people, friends, family, who live in houses and who have invested a lot more money into their living situation, and some of which may not even think it's a great idea for me to have an apartment and spend that money on rent that I could be investing into something else, but that's me, and I like it. I may buy something this year, I may buy something next year, maybe I should, but that's me right now, and that's just where I'm living. I know when I totaled my car, I ended up buying a car that was the nicest car I've ever purchased, and I still dream about my $10,000 car. And there's times when I think, well, people are going to judge me with the corporate work that I do, and they're going to look at me and say, well, why doesn't Adam drive a nicer car? If I just drove a $10,000 car. So I bought a nicer car. And then I probably going to keep this car, but I look and think at times, like when I was the happiest in a car ever, it's always when it's the car that fits me the best. And it's not something where I'm trying to prove anything to anybody. When I'm trying to prove something to somebody, then I'm always going to be not courageously being myself. I'm cowardly trying to impress. I'm cowardly trying to self-protect. I'm cowardly trying to defend this person that I am, like trying to justify, rationalize, minimize, living in a place that's not really positive and not inspiring and not creative. So check out that link to the disc person, the DYL disc, right? So it's going to help you. I mean, you're going to find that very helpful. You can give it to your spouse. You can give it to your friends. It's going to be helpful. I mean, I'm pretty pumped about it. We've worked really hard on getting it done, me and my team, and it's a team effort right there. And so it's pretty cool. And love your feedback on it as well as you go through it. So you can understand that you're good enough by being yourself and realizing you're going to be okay. So it's ironic that when we are trying to control the outcome of a situation, whether they accept us, whether they like us, whether they respond to us, we're not being ourselves. We're being calculated. In a sense, we're being manipulative. And when we're understanding that our value doesn't come from the outcome, then we're actually able to be ourselves. So we're actually able to be creative and to be much more attractive, because the most attractive person who gets the best results is not trying to control the results. They're actually letting go, realizing they can't control the results, and they're becoming very attractive in the process, because people that are letting go and trusting and being themselves are incredibly attractive. Interesting cycle people go into there. So the more you're actually trying to be somebody else, whatever they are, whoever they are, even a good role model, the more you're actually being self-protective and guarded and selfish. Crazy, I know. And the worst results you actually get. So the best results you actually get are when you're letting go and you're realizing that you're okay the way that you are. So you go back to the beginning of this episode when I had you identify something in some area where you're not really truly being yourself. You're trying to impress, you're trying to self-protect, you're being guarded. You know, what is going on there? And where are you, how are you doing that? I mean, are you not bringing your sense of humor? Are you not relaxing? Are you just are you not chiming in and saying something? What are you doing in that situation? Because you're wearing yourself out, and you're probably also wearing other people out as well. I'm not trying to criticize you, but I want you to be able to live with freedom, to decide, to let that go. And it's a daily, moment by moment thing. People that make progress, what I have found is they do it one day at a time. They do it one moment at a time. And I borrowed that from the 12 from AA. I mean, one day at a time. You can grasp one day. Like, I can do something that's hard for a couple hours, or for a day, or make those calls or deal with that difficult situation for a day. If I was going to have to do it for a lifetime, it'd probably be so overwhelming that we can't make any changes. I mean, like, it's just so overwhelming. I can't do that for a lifetime. So you shorten the time horizon. You say, I can do it for today. So the third truth to believe, in addition to that you can change, truth number one, and then number two is that you are unique. So there are unique things about you that make you special, which is super cool. The third truth is that you're worthy. Like, you are worthy. You as a person are worthy of love and acceptance. You as a person, no matter what you've done, no matter what you've been through, you are worthy of good things in your life. I mean, even if you can look at your life and say, I've done no good or I've done really bad stuff. I mean, there are aspects of your life, if you are willing to grasp it, you have good to do, you can make a difference. And history is filled with examples of people who have done bad stuff and turned it around. And I believe that's why there's so many biblical stories that talk about redemption and transformation and change, because we need that kind of hope, man. We need people who we can look at and say, I can relate to that. I can relate to that guy, because I've been there, and I've been in a place where I thought, you know what, there's nobody that will accept me. There's no one that can even see any good in me, like the prodigal son. I mean, he comes back just wanting to be able to work as a laborer for his father, and his father accepts him in and then has a big party for him and brings him back into the fold. I mean, back into the family. But he thought that was the furthest thing from possible. Yet we see that these great things can happen. So he was worthy, and you are worthy too. And that will change your life when you realize that, because you'll realize that today is the first day of the rest of my life. And I have a lot to offer. Even though I've made mistakes, I have a lot to offer, and I can make the most of every step from this point forward. Wow. If you can let that sink in, why would you be self-protective? If I hurt somebody else, I'm hurting myself. If I'm guarded, I'm not growing. If I'm not reaching out and letting people see myself, then I'm not helping other people. If I'm not having courageous conversations, then I'm holding back, and I'm not growing and being challenged. And I'm not helping and challenging other people. So our mistakes become areas where we can grow. I mean, once you can see that making a mistake is actually something where you get to grow, and there really is no mistake. The only mistake you actually can make is one where you don't show up and do 100%, given your ability in that situation. That's the only mistake that you can make. I mean, you show up, even if, you're recording a podcast. Not that I did that with this one, by the way, but let's say you didn't prepare at all because you were partying all last night and you had no notes and you were hungover and you were showing up you already were committed. So you wanted to show up and be there, but you don't have anything to talk about. And you decide, well, you know what? I'm just going to let go. It's not about me. I'm going to talk about things that are valuable. And you start just talking. Well, that's an example of not failing, because failing in the sense that they didn't show up and do their best, because they did their best with their limited capacity. Now, could they have changed some things? Hopefully they learned from that, like prepare in advance. Don't be partying all night. Maybe they learned that they could wing it. Like I was a crammer in college. I just kind of stay up for nights and finals and think I was going to be okay doing that. Not a good thing, but I would do that sometimes. And I didn't do as well in school because of that. So not a good thing, but I did that. And so you are worthy. You're worthy of getting to know. Just watch out for those people who you look at and say, that's a really attractive person. I can guarantee you that they started at some point to say, I'm going to be comfortable in my own skin. I'm going to be okay. My value is not going to come from whether someone accepts me or rejects me or loves me or thinks I'm the coolest person in the world. They're going to be good with me just because. So I've had the privilege of getting to know people who've gotten out of prison. And it's really exciting to see somebody when they get out of prison. It's hard because a lot of people will judge them. It's hard to get a new job. It's hard to get people to believe in you and have hope in you, but they can still choose to have hope in themselves. I've seen people do well and make big life-altering changes once they got out and rekindle relationships and rekindle their own belief in themselves, frankly, because they have been able to accept themselves. And that's an act of courage right there. Courageously being yourself. So one of my friends, his brother got out of prison after I believe he was in there in and out for a big chunk of time, like maybe 20 years. And we played golf not too long ago. And I was talking to him, the guy who had gotten out of prison. And I was very impressed. I was just like, this guy is going to do good. He just had this thing to him where he was engaging. He was showing up, man. He was not letting his past weigh him down. He got a job and he was proud to have his job. He was excited about his job. He saw potential in his job. That was so encouraging to me that he had that. And that's what I'm talking about here. You're able to to courageously be yourself, and even talking about what he had been through. So when I go and speak, I generally like to share some of the stuff that I've struggled with in my life. And I try to share it. I find that the sooner I share it, the better, because the more I hide the stuff that I don't like, I mean, I like it and I don't like it. Like the fact that I am divorced. I wish it would have never happened, and I'm not glad it happened. I don't think it was like the plan, or it's like, but it is what it is. And it makes me who I am today. And it gives me the ability to help other people. And so the sooner I get that out with people, it's like I can move on, and that's not going to be something that's going to weigh me down. It's a good thing. Talking about your mistakes, sharing the truth about yourself, being okay with yourself. I find that to be incredibly useful in the whole process of being comfortable in my own skin and just courageously being me. Now, I can think of so many different times where people have believed in me even more than I believed in myself. I ran into an old friend at a funeral last week on Monday, and one of our previous coworkers had passed away, and then we ran into each other and we talked, and it really triggered a bunch of different thoughts when it came to being myself, because her name is Jolynn, and she's a friend I haven't seen a whole lot of over the last few years, but a great person, very fond of her. When I was unemployed it was 2000, my daughter was 1 year old. And I was friends with Jolynn back then, and I was unemployed for about 3-4 months, pretty discouraged. And then I started to have some hope. I started to really believe in myself and start to be myself even back then, because I realized that experience of being unemployed, I was at some level going to be able to use that to help other people, which is really exciting. And eventually it was Jolynn that introduced me to Gordon, who ran a company, and I interviewed with Gordon. I got a part-time job with Gordon, then it became a full-time job with Gordon. And Jolynn believed in me at a higher level in some ways professionally than I believed in myself. And that was a game changer for me, because these little things that happen, I mean, these aren't coincidences. I don't believe in random coincidences. I believe that there's a much bigger picture at play, that people have come into my life and things have happened at just the right time. And it's amazing to me how all that happens. I've had some crazy stuff happen that remind me of what's most important in my life. I'm open to it. Definitely these bad experiences, there's a message to it. What is the message that you're getting? What's the message that you're getting from this episode today on courageously being yourself? Do you have a Jolynn who you can thank, who saw you, the potential in you, and helped you to courageously be yourself? Do you have situations where you can let go and relax and let people see and put on the I poop today hat, right? Do you have situations in your life where you're making excuses and you're saying that you can't change and you're never going to be a morning person, or you'll never be that disciplined, or you'll never be happy, or you'll never be, different in some positive way? It's something that you just have to deal with. And people that know me know I don't like excuses. I don't like the easy way out. If something happens, I don't want you to take the easy way out. But if somebody has an excuse, often that's their initial gut reaction. I mean, this probably has caused more conflict in a positive way with people that have worked with, and that situations with family and everything is those quick little excuses that people make. Like, that's just the way that it is. Accept it. I do not like that, because it's a scapegoat, easy way, and it's blaming something rather than actually understanding the issue. Don't be that person who doesn't dig deeper to see how you can change and how you can face things in your life, and how you can move forward, and how you can live with more security, how you can courageously be yourself. So what insights did you gain from this podcast today? What did you gain that was inspiring, that you heard here to say, I want to apply that to my life? I want you to apply it today. By the end of the day today, do it. Take an action. If you were in my office, I would say do it right now. Some aspect of it, I'd say get it done right away. Now, I love doing that with clients. I love doing that corporately with businesses. Let's take an action right away. To decide something means to eliminate other options. You're deciding on things to eliminate and what you're going to focus on. Your legacy is the impact your life has on other people. And that is something you have influence over. There is no positive change until you decide. Decide today. Count the cost. If you don't change, could be life altering. Not trying to scare you, but you know what I'm talking about. Some of you know what I'm talking about. If you keep that lifestyle habit up, you're going to damage your life. If you don't maintain that relationship or don't nurture that, you're going to cause some significant challenges in your future. Insight, which you gain today, is 20% of change. All right. Action is a decision is 80%. A good plan you do nothing with. A good plan that you act on is 100 times greater than a perfect plan you do nothing with. So do me a favor. Go ahead and hit that link to sign up for the DISC assessment. You want to go through that, check out the results, share it with your friends, and then forward this episode with one friend. Okay, share it and say, this was helpful to me. You're going to find this useful, and even say, here's why. I think this will help you understand how to let go at work. I think it'll help you understand why the DISC assessment can be so helpful. So I want to close today the way that I always do. So live a life today that you want to be remembered for 10 years after you're gone. You decide your legacy, nobody else. Here's the thing. Either you're going to decide it, or by default, fear is going to decide it for you. I appreciate you greatly, and I'll see you next time.